Wow, so time really flies. I can't believe it's been about 1 month since the iPhone 13 Pro was released, and I've been using it every single day as my main phone. So I figured I'd do a report back and tell you guys all the things that I like about the iPhone 13 after using it for 1 month and all the things I don't like. Right off the bat, Apple kept the design of the iPhone 12, so it doesn't look too different than the last gen iPhones. But I still think that it looks really good, and it's one of my favorite designs from iPhones in more recent years. The one that I got is the Sierra Blue version, and to be honest, it's not necessarily my favorite of all the iPhones. It's definitely my favorite Pro, but I still like the blue of the basic iPhone 13 a lot better. I wish they kind of switched it around and kept that for the iPhone 13 Pro. I would have been way happier with the way that the phone looks. You can definitely tell that this is a premium phone, even with the color included. The phone feels really sturdy, has stainless steel around the sides, and it just feels like thicker and more premium than any of the other iPhones. The iPhone 13 has a matte finish, so it's not as glossy as the regular 13, and yeah, I'm still digging the design. No scratches after using it for 1 month, so it's held up really well. Let's talk about the display. Apple reduced the notch by about 20%, and after using it for a month, it doesn't really look that much of a difference. It doesn't make any functional difference, so I don't have any complaints about the notch. It is there, and I do wish Apple included the battery percentage in the display, which is something that a lot of people have been complaining about. But yeah, the notch is there, and I'm used to the notch now. What can we do, right? Moving on from the notch, the iPhone 13 Pro has a really good display. I still like it. The novelty has not worn off after using it for about a month. The iPhone 13 display is really crisp. It gets really bright, especially when outdoors, and images and pictures and everything on it just looks really good, especially if you're watching movies or anything like that. Then you can rest assured that this phone is a really good display and one of the best displays I've seen on a phone so far. Now, the big appeal of the iPhone 13 Pro is the 120 hertz display, and to be completely honest, I don't really notice it that much because it's Pro Motion. It is dynamic, so depending on what you're doing, it'll scale down to like 90 hertz, 60 hertz. I think subconsciously maybe it's making it seem like the phone is a bit more smoother, but it's not really been a huge factor into why I enjoy this phone. Let's talk about the video quality. One of the things that appealed to me with the new iPhone 13 Pro and why I returned the iPhone 13 for this one is because the iPhone 13 Pro has the 3x telephoto lens. And this lens looks really good, especially on video. So I'm able to use this as a second camera, a B camera, if you will, and just switch between the two cameras. And a lot of people don't really notice that one was shot on an iPhone and the other was shot on a more expensive camera. So that's a true testament on how good the iPhone 13 camera is, especially at video. Speaking of video, Apple also updated the iPhone 13 to include ProRes, which is basically a video file format that just makes everything look a bit better. It's easier to grade if you're changing the colors. That's the easiest way that I could put it in like layman's terms. But in general, this is a really good feature to have on the iPhone 13, and you can't really tell that this thing was shot on an iPhone 13 versus something that's shot on a more expensive camera. Now, focusing specifically on pictures, the iPhone 13 takes some really solid pictures. So in this time around, Apple included some picture filters that after 1 month I've never really used. It's a cool feature, but I'd rather shoot the photo raw so that I can change it in post, and it makes it just a lot easier and works better with my workflow than having to rely on the phone to pick the filter for me or to do that processing of the colors. Another big appeal of the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 was the cinematic camera, and I can say that that is probably a gimmick, but that's just my opinion. I think a lot of people can probably get by on making a lot of content on the iPhone 13 Pro with that cinematic camera, but I'd say if you are gonna do that, dumb it down. It looks very processed and kind of fake, so you might want to use like an f-stop at around f4, f5, a little bit higher, because it looks more natural and looks really cinematic in comparison to just using that fake bokeh. Let's talk about battery for a second. The iPhone 13 Pro is a really good phone if you want something that basically lasts for the most part of the day. It's not going to be like the longest lasting phone. You can look at the iPhone 13 Pro Max for that, but in general, this thing lasts long. Let's say that I have light use with the iPhone 13, I could definitely end the workday with around 50%, but if I'm taking photos with it or interacting with the screen a lot, texting and doing a lot of stuff, then 100% this thing is probably gonna die around 4 p.m. and you might have to charge it up. But I think that's because I have heavy use on some days, especially when I'm filming for the channel. On a day like today, it's around 5:30 p.m. and the phone is at 34%. I was FaceTiming with my business partner a lot today, going through social media, checking emails and watching YouTube. My old iPhone 12 definitely would have been dead by then. And yeah, I really like this battery life. Let's move on to a few random things that I thought I'd mention about the iPhone 13 Pro. One, the A15 chip. Now, I purposely did not give it a dedicated section because I feel like at this point with iPhones, the processing power is pretty much the same. This is the same chip that you're gonna get on any of the iPhone 13. So if you have the iPhone 13 mini, the iPhone 13, or the Pro Max, you're definitely gonna have the exact same speeds. But to be honest, you're probably gonna get the exact same speeds with the iPhone 12. Okay, I'm being a little bit dramatic. There is a slight difference, but as somebody that just had the iPhone 12, I don't notice a day-to-day difference in terms of speed with the iPhone 13 Pro over any of the more recent iPhones. Seriously, you're not gonna really notice a difference. Now, of course, the 120 Hz display does change it. It makes it seem a bit smoother, but in general, it's not really that much of a speed improvement in my opinion. So of course, not everything could be perfect. So let's talk about what I don't like with the iPhone 13 Pro after using it for 1 month. I don't necessarily think that these are pro devices. Now, if you're a photographer or you do video or you create content, you can definitely do your professional work on the iPhone 13 if you choose. But for the most part, there's nothing on the iPhone 13 Pro that makes it like a must-have for pros. Like if you work in an office or anything like that, is this the phone that you need to get that'll help increase your productivity versus the base iPhone 13? Like what options do you get on this one that make it more efficient for power users or pros? Not much. Now the Pro Max, it has a really long battery life. So if you're in the office all day or outside and you're in the field doing work, then yes, that makes sense. It has a longer battery life. But the iPhone 13 Pro, while it does have good battery life, it's not necessarily like that much better than the iPhone 13 that warrants the Pro name. So after 1 month, I'm still kind of dumbfounded on finding what makes it a pro device. And that leads to the second thing, which is there's no USB-C on this. So even if you are a videographer or somebody that takes photos, transferring these large files in ProRes takes forever. It makes it more annoying to export things and transfer it to your computer so you can edit those things. Now, of course, there's AirPlay, but again, ProRes files are really large. So if you're using AirPlay, it does take a while and it kind of slows down your day. And I've noticed it myself. So I do wish that Apple included USB-C in this, and then my whole argument is gone because you could do so much more things with USB-C. It means one less cable, data speeds are a lot quicker. So I do wish Apple would finally add that. But yeah, that's what I think of the iPhone 13 Pro after using it for 1 month. It's a really good phone. I do recommend it. But if you have like an iPhone 12 or anything like that, you might want to skip this and upgrade in the future. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this video and the iPhone 13 Pro in the comments below. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. I got a full review of the new MacBook Pro coming soon, so make sure to subscribe. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace.